Welcome to the Top 10 Gardener with Master Gardener Ken Lain. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and top 10 advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, welcome your garden host, Ken Lain.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. Oh, and this is some of the brightest flowering shrubs you will have all year are now not the most fragrant. Most fragrant seems to be spring. There's something about a lilac, jasmines, gardenias that are just magical. Now, we've got some repeat bloomers that are kind of like that. So there's a repeat blooming lilac that sort of does that again, but they're not as bright. The summer flowers are truly bright. Gardenia. There's a repeat blooming gardenia. It's beautiful on patios. I've got several. Evergreen shrub, stays about 2 by 2 by 2, always has this great fragrance, but the flowers are, the shrub is nice and glossy green. The flowers are just basically the size of a quarter. They're white. But there's much prettier flowers out there. I thought I'd mention some of the brightest ones we're kind of seeing in the yard right now. And one that I would say is probably the brightest of all of the shrub. Roses are always brightest. There's something about, they get fragrance, they get everything about them, but they're a little intimidating for folks. And so they're in a primary landscape shrub. But roses, I've quite a few roses. You should look at some of the shrub roses. Grace and Grits. This is a magical rose. Easy to grow. There's nothing blooms as long. It's got multi-toned colored flower. Shrub roses, the beauty is there's no care for them. You just you treat them like anything else in the yard, and they just bloom and bloom and bloom. They're great. They're not like your grandparents' hybrid teas where you got to really count back 3 nodes, cut it a 45-degree angle, and watch for the mildew. These shrub roses, they don't have any issues. They just bloom. And it does have a thorn. Things that have thorns, they really like Arizona. So roses do better here than anywhere else in the country, especially at this altitude, because it cools down. So they bloom longer for you. Let's say down in Phoenix or in the Midwest where they get lots of mildews and issues, black spot in the South. Here we don't have any of that. Just easy to grow. But look at your shrub rose, and specifically, look at that new Grace and Grits. And I think about it, that's a beautiful rose. It's got a slight fragrance. It's real easy to grow, easy. But probably the number one most recognized summer shrub would have to be Crape Myrtle nationally. So Crape Myrtles have this bright fluorescent type of flower to it, and they're blooming now all around town. Now here, for you folks from Texas, those areas, you know who you are. You like your Crape Myrtle trees. Now, trees, you won't find Crape Myrtle trees here, not like you do in the South. And it's because it gets so cold. We get this really violent cold in the winter that it resets them down to ground level. So it doesn't allow them to reach up to the heights, that 15, 20-foot height that they do other parts of the country. But they do form beautiful shrubs up to head high. They're just very nice and very pretty flowers. So all the ones you're used to, and then some more, do really well. One that's probably been around since I've been gardening the Prescott area, and I've got a few years on me. Rose of Sharon is starting to bloom right now. It's one of the hardy hibiscus that grows here. It's truly a magnificent flowering shrub. Again, gets up about head high if you really let it go. The really old specimens around town, maybe they're at 12 feet, something like that. Generally, folks keep them about head high, and they use them as hedges, accents out in that island where the driveway kind of goes around it. The backyard fence, it kind of softens all that hardware up. It's a great choice for out there. It's actually got a hibiscus flower. We've got probably 6 different colors, varieties, textures here, but they're all Rose of Sharon's or hibiscus. It's a hardy hibiscus. And so it comes back, you can count on it. Every single summer, you will have hundreds of these hibiscus flowers on them. Butterflies love them. It's a great plant. There's nothing like it because of the quantity and the color of these flowers. You'll be driving by down a street at 30 miles an hour. You went, whoa, what is that? You'll spot them because they're so bright and so pretty. I don't think that they have a real strong aroma, not like a rose or jasmine or something, but it's got a slight one. The butterflies sure know it's got a fragrance or a taste that they like. One that's most famous here because it's drought hardy. It has flowers. I don't know if they're the prettiest, but they're the most unique. So smoke bush or smoke tree. If you let it go, it can get up to about 18. It can get up pretty tall. Not a true tree, but like a miniature tree, real tall shrub or short tree. That's one, smoke bush. Generally, it's purple, but the flower starts to elongate right now, and it looks like the bush is on fire, like it's smoking. Not with flames, but the flowers are light and wispy, and it just looks like there's smoke hovering above this plant. And when the wind blows, it just rustles it and makes it look like it's just moving. It's a dramatic type of shrub. It's really pretty, and it's drought hardy. Nothing's gonna eat it. Javelina, the deer, nothing bothers a smoke bush. And so that's when you put out there in that we call it oasis gardening or oasis design. You've got a real native kind of rough, lots of manzanitas, junipers, and maybe some cypress out there. You've got pinyon pines. Well, this is one you can intermix with that, and it sort of looks native-y, but it's not native-y, but it adds a little bright spot. And so as you get closer to the house, we put the bright colors, so containers of flowers. Then as you roll out away from the patios or the entrance or down the driveway, you put maybe your smoke bush, Rose of Sharon's, your Crape Myrtles. And then as you feather out into the surrounding soil, you finally get to the native types of chaparral kind of stuff. You folks with the bigger properties, we call it oasis design, oasis gardening, where all that high maintenance your vegetable gardens, your flowers are closer in where you can enjoy them and take care of them. And then as you work your design out further out in the landscape, you feather it or blend it into the native surrounding soil. Anyway, I can go on and on about design. I got whole classes on that one. In fact, in the spring, that's a top class. Saturdays we hold classes at 9:30, and that's a big one. If that design's your thing, keep an eye out for that one. What else is out there? Rose of Sharon, Crape Myrtle, smoke bush. Another one, lavender. And there's a new euphorbia that's really, really interesting. So this is kind of perennial season. This June, July are just tremendous for flowering perennials. Perennials are those things that come back year after year. So you plant them once and you're done. They cost a little bit more because they're typically 2-year-old plants or older. Some of your older plants can be 10 years old. So it might be the cost of a shrub or something, but basically they're a little bit more than an annual flower. Annuals bloom like crazy and they die in the winter. Perennials bloom like crazy for a bit and then they hide underground through winter, rest, and they come back for you fresh in the spring. Well, a euphorbia that's out right now is called Merlot Euphorbia. Now, euphorbia, it's a big family of plants. There's probably 100 different plants. In fact, poinsettias are a euphorbia, a variety. Christmas poinsettias, that red plant. It's related to that genetically, but it's hardier than that. And so it's an evergreen perennial here. It doesn't go back, hide underground. It stays up straight. It loves growing here in the winter. And it's bright and cheery. It looks great in containers. Next to a raised bed, next to your patios or entrances. It looks fantastic. It's a vase-shaped plant up to about knee high. It's very pretty. The original was rainbow Ascot Euphorbia. This one's called Merlot, so it's purple. Rainbow Ascot was golden or kind of a chartreuse color, and the two of them look really good together. And so that's a good perennial. It comes back every year. Another one sort of like that's from the herb family are lavenders and rosemaries. But lavenders have a bloom cycle, especially the English lavenders look really good this time of year. English gets up about 3 feet tall, kind of 4 feet wide, kind of a mounding shape. And hummingbirds and butterflies love lavender, and nothing eats it. Nothing eats the euphorbia either. So I know people are going to go, hey, Ken, what about the euphorbia? Do they eat that? No. Javelina don't eat it. I have personal experience. Rabbits don't eat it. I have personal experience. Same with lavender. There's a whole bunch of things that look really good. And this is when they like to be planted. They like to bloom, shine, and be planted in the summer months of the year. I'll be back with more tips, tricks right after this.
Wondering why the grass is always greener on the other side? Well, it's probably because your neighbor used the all-purpose fertilizer from Water's Garden Center. Monsoon is right around the corner, and it's the perfect time to feed your plants. Water's all-purpose fertilizer is the only organic made especially for Arizona mountain soils. Don't buy a bunch of different fertilizer for your flowers, veggies, trees, or grass. This one does it all. The plants on your side will be happier, healthier, well, greener. Safe, natural, organic. Water's Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain, owner of Water's Garden Center in Prescott. Join his daily podcast for timely garden advice seasonally right for the gardens. Ken can be found throughout the week at Water's Garden Center in Prescott or through his website at top10gardener.com.